Hey, everybody. My name is Kat Margulis, and I'm the host of The Power of Story. And as a longtime journalist, author, and book coach, I tend to see story everywhere I go. But in recent years, I've seen not only how story can transform lives, but how it can transform businesses too. And so that's what I'm going to explore with my guests in this interview series so that you can create the life, the business, and the legacy of your dreams. Today, I have with me Zibby Owens. Zibby is an author, podcaster, publisher, CEO, and mother of four. She is the founder of Zibby Owens Media, which is known for its award-winning podcast, Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books, which includes Zibby Books, a publishing house for fiction and memoir. Zibby is a regular columnist for Good Morning America and a frequent guest on morning news shows recommending books. She is also the author of a book of Bookends, a memoir of love, loss, and literature. Zibby, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Um, So you recently published your book, memoir, Bookends, a memoir of love, loss, and literature. And I'm wondering, what did it take to share your story? And what did you have to overcome in order to put it out there?
It took a lot of time and patience because I've been trying to get this book out in one way or another since 2003 when I set off to write a memoir after I graduated from business school. And life has just unfolded in all these crazy ways. So my story I've kept adding to the story. So there have been many times where the proposals I've had for this particular book have not sold, but I finally found my way to success by weaving in all the books that I'd read along the way. So it really took a lot of dedication and patience, but I've always had this really strong pull to get the story out, mostly because of losing my best friend on 9/11, which is one of the sort of tent poles, I guess, of the book. I just needed to get that story out. I just needed to get more information about her, Stacy. And so I couldn't let this project drop no matter what I was going through. So I came back to it, and here it is.
I love that. I can totally relate to that feeling of the story just gets to come out. And yeah, there's just something pulling you and compelling you forward. So I can totally relate, and I love your commitment to it, and that you just got to make it happen. Um, and I'm curious, it's so interesting, like especially writing from your life experience. How has writing this story impacted you?
Well, what's impacted me the most, I think, is sharing the story. I've been writing and rewriting various parts of it for years. Um, I enjoy writing a lot, but I also write essays all the time and now long Instagram captions. And the writing itself, I don't think changed too much, although I did feel like putting it all together in one long narrative, particularly even with some of my family background, just put it into context for me, why books are so important to my
Mm,
family, to me, and all of that.
mhm.
But the thing that's really been wonderful is sharing it with other people and having people react to so many different parts of the book, because there's a little bit there's a little bit of something for everybody. There's grief, there's like eating stuff, there's books, and there's career and staying home with kids and identity and just all the stuff that makes life, falling in love, divorce, remarriage, career, building business. So yeah, I've loved connecting with the people who have read the book and getting it out there and meeting so many kindred spirits.
Yeah, I love it. Um, I meet a lot of people and that have interesting stories. And the thing that always strikes me is how interested I am in their story and how blasé people can be about their story. And that's part of what compelled me to do this interview series, because I'm like, you guys got to know, like you're sitting on gold, you got to get it out there. And I don't think people realize how much their story matters. When did you realize that your story mattered?
I mean, I hope it matters. I like to think it matters. Um, I feel like, oh, this sounds weird maybe, but I feel like what I've had to say matters since I was young and I first started sharing my thoughts and feelings. I published this essay in 17 magazine when I was 16, and it got such a great response that it's encouraged me for the rest of my life. Anytime I share and I really go there, I I get the best feedback. And so it makes me keep doing it and doing it.
That's incredible. That was like my teen fantasy. So I'm like living vicariously that you actually did that. And I was wondering how old you were. You were just 16 when you published in 17, and it was a personal story.
It was, yeah.
That's incredible. As a magazine editor, those were my favorite stories to edit. So I was like, that's the section, like I'm grabbing that section. You guys got the rest. I like the relationships and the personal stories. So I really love that's how you launched into this. You've built a business around stories, book reviewer, book influencer. You've long promoted other and championed other people's books with your podcast as well. And now you're publishing them too. Why does story matter so much to you?
I think that by connecting to stories, we all are connected to each other. And I think that is one of the most important things of life itself. So, story is the easiest vehicle for doing so. And whether it's written, audio, film, whatever, when people can empathize and really think and feel and experience what other people are going through, all it does is make their lives better. So I think sharing stories is the best way to teach, learn, love, connect, all of it. And that's why stories are really important. You can have 100 people tell you don't go in the sun without sunscreen, but you read one book about someone who gets skin cancer and you're going to wear sunscreen. Mm-hmm. So the power of story to affect change, make a difference, inspire, help people live better lives. There's nothing that holds a candle to it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. As a writer yourself and a reader and a publisher, what do you believe are the keys to a good story?
I'm loving these questions, by the way. Keys to a good story. I mean, my English teacher would say a beginning, middle, and an end, which of course is important. But a good story has something juicy in it, whether that means it's extra personal or unexpected or something you can sink your teeth into. It takes you somewhere emotionally or in your mind and entertains. And essentially, we're all looking for entertainment. That is how we all relax. That is how we escape and cope. And whether you're binge watching a show or reading a new book or whatever, I think that it's the only thing that can really take you out of your everyday life without anyone having to move a step.
I love that. I love that. So you've added a new publishing division to your business. Congratulations. So you're going from championing books and authors to nurturing and supporting them. For the authors, would-be authors in our audience, what should they know about publishing books today? And what's different about how we get books out now?
Excuse me. I think there's even more competition for time than I think it's this constant escalation of demands on our time. And it's always never been as true as now. Yeah. And books don't always offer the best bang for your buck. Right? It takes a long time to read them. It takes commitment and patience. You have to wait sometimes for it to get really good. You have to see what happens at the end. And in the meantime, you could have read 8,000 Instagram posts or, posted your own 27 TikToks or, run to this meeting and done that Zoom, and things happen at rapid fire pace. To read a book requires a sustained focus on something. So I think that books themselves as a category have a value proposition sort of rebrand to do, And there are so many of them.
Mm.
The readers, I think, as a whole, there are fewer readers and they are reading less. And that yet the publishers are producing more and more and more. And so curation has become a huge problem. How do you
Mm.
possibly know what to read? I mean, it's always been that you rely on word of mouth or some celebrity or somebody you trust or you want to know what they like or something. But I think that is happening more and more. I think that's why Bookstagram and Book Talk and all of that has really escalated in importance. People just need to know how to cut through the clutter. Even the most dedicated book lover can be completely overwhelmed and needs direction. And not only that, but maybe they do want to be reading something that other people are reading because, again, there's that connection you get between the author and the reader, but there's also the
Mm.
connection you get between and among readers themselves. There's something really wonderful about reading the same book at the same time, or just having read the same book and being able to talk about that this immersive experience that you share. So
Yeah.
I think curation has never been more important, and finding people you trust to recommend books. That's in part why I try to recommend books, but not just recommend. I just try to expose people to a lot of books. I curate and do smaller lists too, but even my bigger list, I do 365 books a year on my podcast. At least I've gotten it down from, I mean, there are 1,000 books coming out next month that I was just sorting through. So,
That's crazy.
and excuse my cold, but I think people need a little more help being told what to read, and I would really like those books to be good.
Mm. Hmm. What are you looking for? What's a good story for you? Especially in this time crunched, so many distractions, binge watching on Netflix. What cuts through the clutter for you?
Well, I happen to be obsessed with reading, and I read a ton and I read quickly, and now I do this as a job. So, uh, books that cut through the clutter for me get my attention and keep it. With the writing, with the story, uh, there's not a one size fits all, but I will say that I love memoir, and if somebody's writing beautifully about their life, it's very hard for me to turn away.
Mm. Do you feel like with your access to readership and as an influencer, when you take the temperature, what do you feel the audience is craving right now?
I think they're craving fun. I think they're craving light and fun, humor, sex. Like I think they need something like it's just there's so much heaviness to the world, and I think people need an antidote to that.
Ah, I love it. I love it. That makes me super, super excited. Um, yeah, and I know you kind of touched on this, but I want to make sure I go there for the authors in the audience. How do you get your book noticed in the marketplace today, or in the slush pile,
No,
or
I know
in
it's
agent?
so hard. It's so hard. Um, you mean before it's been published or even after it's come out?
Let's focus on when it comes out, because there is like you said, you're getting 1,000 books, so yeah, when it's been published, how do you, the tree falls in the forest, what do you do?
Yeah. Well, that is one reason why the traditional publishers still have a lot of power in this industry, because the fact that they've chosen the book already is a certain threshold that you've already had to overcome. Whereas a self-published book, you don't have the knowledge that it could be that nobody has read this book except for you and the author. So if I'm going to risk my time, which is limited, do I do it on a book that's that like a publicist I've gotten to know well at a place that recommends? Maybe that's a smarter investment of my limited time. Not to say I don't also get captivated by self-published books, and I've covered many of them, but um, I think working with a publicist or a team who can has relationships or can get you in front of people who can then spread your message further, and that could be an influencer network, it could be a magazine or a newspaper, it could be a podcaster, it could be whatever, or a little bit of everything. I mean, ultimately there's no secret sauce.
Mm.
I mean, for my book, I'm trying everything. I'm doing everything. I'm saying yes to everything because who knows? And
Yeah.
also, I think cutting through the noise for who? For how many people? Who are you
Yeah.
trying to reach? Why? What's your goal? Um, to become a bestseller is really, really hard. And especially a New York Times bestseller, if that's your goal, you might have to approach it a certain way. If you want to, you can tailor your messaging and your budget and all these things that are required to get attention for anything these days. Like it's hard to
Yeah.
cut through the clutter about anything, but um, you
Yeah.
know, that's not a good answer, but
No, no, it's an honest answer. It's an honest answer. And I think I know that I deal with writers and people who want to write books and publishing books, and they're trying to figure out which avenue do I pursue and what are the prices I'm willing to pay, because there is a certain compromise or price to be paid regardless of the path you choose, whether it's like traditional publishing and it's possibly years of your life, like years of waiting, right? Versus the instant gratification um, of self-publishing. And then there's the other option, which are the smaller publishing houses and the imprints. And I'm curious about, like, it seems pretty obvious to me, traditional publishing versus self-publishing. And what are you thinking is the opportunity in the middle, or what's that third opportunity? What's the future looking for that?
well, that's why I started my own publishing company. It was to give authors another option. Uh, we only do 12 books a year. And so, like in the older days of publishing, we could really spend a lot of time getting to know our authors and supporting the author, not just the book. So, we're doing our model is this as we're both distributing it widely through stores and all the traditional outlets, but we're also offering a subscription model where you could get all 12 of our books each year once a month. So you'll have time to read it, then the next book will come, or you'll put it on the stack. um, and you don't have to think. We've already like taken the thinking out. Like we're not just a book
Yeah.
club that picks from other books, but we've invested in these books from the very, very beginning, sometimes commissioning the books. So I feel like that's a unique addition. Internally we do things like profit sharing among our authors. We have brand partnerships for all of our books. We have author champions. We have Zibby Books ambassadors all over the country helping us work with their local indies. We have different campaigns like 22 and 22 where we encourage people to visit bookstores, and we just try to partner with as many people as possible to get the books into lots of hands, and we're going to be doing lots of bonus content and all these other fun things up our sleeves. So we're just going to try a lot of things. We've also recently launched Zibby magazine called Zibby Mag, and that has more opportunities to feature our authors, but also lots of other authors who I feel like are such rock stars. So I want to portray them as such in the magazine. And we have a podcast network, and several of our authors, not many, several have podcasts of their own in my network, which is currently called Zcast, but I think I'm going to change it to Zibby Audio. So we have Zibby Books, Zibby Mag, and Zibby Audio.
Love it.
And I'm trying to open a store. So I don't know. We're
Woo,
just
girl.
I know. I have new ideas every day, and now my biggest challenge is finding the right people and to do them all, and
Yes.
stay on pace. So,
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, finally, is there anything else that you would like to add or share with our audience on the power of story, or just publishing in general?
um, I think books will always be published. I think there is something very human about them, and they've stood the test of time. So hopefully this decade won't wipe them out. And I think, excuse me, I think everybody has a story to tell. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It could be. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It could be as simple as, I don't know, training for starting this podcast or starting something or doing something, trying something, going somewhere. Every story is a journey, and everybody goes on them 1,000 times a day in little ways and also big ways. So
Love
I
it.
think it's finding the common elements, finding what is most essential to your story, and sharing that.
Love
is
it.
great. It just puts it out into the world. More people will connect, and they certainly won't if you keep it inside your brain.
Yeah. I love it. Zibby, thank you so much for sharing all that insight about publishing. I really appreciate it. And thank you for being on the show today. I know you're under the weather, and I so appreciate you for showing up to
I'm
the
sorry for all
interview
the
today.
people's off screen
Um,
here, but you
no,
know.
I really appreciate it. It's been great chatting with you. And so, Zibby, thank you for being on the show. Thank you all for listening at home. Remember, there's going to be a Power of Story workshop on October 24th, and stay tuned for more amazing interviews. And for more information on Zibby, we'll be sending some more information out on her too. So thank you all for being here today. See you soon. Bye.